A growing speedrun for the last few months is Minecraft Platformer 5. It's a Japanese fan game created for the purpose of entertainment, aiming to provide a fun experience. The game features multiple boss fights and offers various weapon upgrades for players to enhance their gameplay. A Minecraft Platformer 5 speedrun requires a near-perfect run. You have to make sure that you hold on your pace, and make it push onward. Runners travel through the world, with precise jumps, and intense bosses while being near perfect. This is the history of Minecraft Platformer 5 world records. Minecraft Platformer 5 has quickly become a popular game ever since its release in August 2022. Multiple people shared their in-game time, with glitches or no glitches, numerous records were set. Some people even did challenges for the game. But none of them have video evidence. It's unfortunate how people didn't record their time. Even the fastest unrecorded time is the fastest time to date, most likely. But in late 2022, people started to share their times. Now obviously these runs are unknown, they were sent in a Discord group, with several people refining their times. But later, the group shared their times with me and created a line graph to track the record history. Now, let's dive into the record history of Minecraft Platformer 5. The first run was performed on November 19, 2022, with a time of 5 minutes and 8 seconds. By a runner named Jeps1. In Minecraft Platformer 5, the game is divided into several sections. You start in the overworld, enter the nether, get out of the nether, then finally quickly enter the end and kill the dragon. The overworld starts as normal. As soon as you start, you face a zombie that can be killed easily. But almost immediately, he saved some time by just simply jumping over the zombie, saving nearly 10 seconds. He still had to do platforming, but he strategized. By just simply jumping on the cactus, you can save at least 5 seconds. But when entering the cave, he did have to engage in combat. And he struggled a lot, dying 3 times while trying to kill the enemies in his path. In the second part in the cave, he died another 4 times while trying to kill the horde of zombies, and a creeper. But eventually, he made it past to the nether. After treading past 3 pigmen, he made it to the first boss fight in the game, the Enderman. You have to kill him to progress, you can't skip him. But anyways, he died twice while trying to kill the Enderman. But after killing the Enderman by cornering him, he got the gold sword, and just 2 screens after the Enderman, he made it to the second boss, the Blaze. He has less health, but can fly up, and can take some time to kill. Jeps1 got a deathless boss, but did have a slow Blaze as a result. After that, he collected the diamond sword, then went back to the overworld to enter the stronghold. He continued to do platforming, and engaged in combat twice. Once in the end portal section, he entered a cutscene that wastes roughly 10 seconds. And once entering the end, he got the netherite sword, and entered the final boss of the game, the Ender Dragon. The dragon boss itself is one of the most difficult encounters in the game. She throws dragon fireballs that stay on screen for nearly 10.5 seconds. Even when completing the dragon boss quickly, killing her takes a full minute. Because of this, Jeps1 struggled once again, dying 4 times while trying to kill the dragon. Thankfully, sometimes the dragon perches, she still does send out dragon breath, yes, but you don't have to fly in the air and risk dying in the process. And the dragon also keeps the same health she had last time, not like the other 2 bosses. And with one final death, Jeps1 finished the dragon off, and got a time of 5:08. He died 14 times, with most of those coming in the overworld in the end. As the weeks passed, people would continue to play. And on November 8, Jeps1 came back to the game. The run didn't start promising, with Jeps getting hit by a zombie immediately. But he improved on his combat skills, dying once throughout the whole overworld stage, saving him 20.6 seconds. In the Nether, despite missing it once, he went for the Pigman boost. By letting the Pigman jump, and hit the corner of the Pigman, you get a massive boost forward and saved around half a second. He once again improved combat, but did have to go with 4 deaths, but retained a 27-second lead. Once again, he persevered, getting a deathless stronghold, and once in the end, he had himself a 35-second lead. But sadly, the dragon fight did not go well. Jeps 1 died a lot more than his other run while trying to kill the dragon. He also didn't get that much hits on her, so he lost nearly his entire lead. He still got a 5:02, a record by 5 seconds, but it was nowhere near what it could have been. Thanks to the dragon boss alone, he lost the entire massive record pace. So, Jeps 1 continued to play, but later on, one person stopped him in his tracks. A new runner emerged, trying to beat the 5:02. Their name was Raylan Scale. Raylan Scale was a pretty well-known runner, setting records in the other difficulties. But he hadn't touched the normal difficulty. So, people started to encourage him to play it. So, as a result, he said that he'd try it one day. Would he? Well, on November 24, 2022, Raylan Scale had a chance. The run didn't seem as promising, as he died more at the start. But he was able to limit where he died, as depending if you're at the end of combat, dying there can be costly. But then, Raylan Scale saved 11 seconds after completing the start. Well, Raylan Scale was on an interesting position. He was on the world record pace, if he could close out the last 2 stages. Thanks to the dragon fight, and a good run, Raylan Scale got a time of 4 minutes flat. That in turn meant he beat the record by a full minute. It was an incredible run from start to finish, and would stand on top for nearly a full month. Raylan Scale's 4 flat was an astounding time. It was an incredible time thanks to the dragon boss and the run before that. So, the run stood for the remaining year. Nobody challenged it, or tried to beat it. And so, it stood, and stood, with nobody trying to beat a time seemingly unbeatable. And then... well, that was unexpected, a 3:58, the first sub-4 in the game. And the runner to do it was named TheUnspotted. He was a new runner, and got to speedrunning the game after seeing the in-game time. And just like Jeps 1's 5:02, this run was a great chance. The run did save time in the overworld start, with saving 5 seconds there with less deaths overall. But the run started picking up in the Nether, as he got a better Enderman fight by cornering him quicker. He also was able to get a slightly better Blaze boss, but nearly died and had to fall back a bit. But even with the bad Blaze fight, he still saved nearly 16 seconds going into the second part of the overworld, a part where he had some more time to save. He was now 16 seconds ahead. This was an incredible chance to beat the record. But then, things went horribly wrong. Despite the deaths, it was still a record, but he had a shot to absolutely demolish the record, but he only got a small record, but still was a sub-4. It was nowhere near what it could have been. So, after the run, he decided to continue running the game. TheUnspotted's run was a sub-4, yes, but yet there was a chance to absolutely demolish the record. That run on January 8, 2023 could have been months ahead of its time, but one boss cut it short. Yet this showed the potential for the future of the speedruns. The runs could lead to some crazy records. But sadly, TheUnspotted lost the chance to get a record months ahead of its time. Could he ever do it again? Well, on January 26, TheUnspotted would once again get a chance to get a record. The run started okay, with losing 1 second in the starting overworld stage. But TheUnspotted knew he had time to save, and because of great 2 boss fights, he got ahead, 9 seconds ahead of the record. But guess what, there was even more potential to save time in the stronghold. He was able to improve his combat there, killing the zombies faster overall. TheUnspotted also improved his platforming skills too. And since he got a great nether, and a great stronghold, he now was 18 seconds ahead. This was now an incredible chance, to get an incredible run. The only thing that TheUnspotted was hoping for, was just one good dragon fight. And that's exactly what happened. In the process, he beat his old time by nearly 22 seconds, which was incredible. And so, it stood. TheUnspotted's run of 3:37 had unmatched speed and precision. But despite the incredible time, the time could still be improved. The dragon boss could have been just slightly improved and the start too could be improved. But despite this, nobody touched the run. Until Jeps1 came back. He did have over a minute and a half to shave off his time to get the world record, but nobody could stop him. So, let the attempts begin. On February 3, 2022, Jeps1 would get on his 5th attempt. He was facing against the 3:59 splits, so he didn't really know if he was gaining or losing time. The run sadly went off a horrible start, as he died several times, and as a result, lost nearly 10 seconds. The nether once again went horribly wrong, as he once again had horrible bosses. Now he was 17 seconds behind. I'll let Jeps1 explain what he felt while this was going on.
I 100% thought this was not a good chance. I knew I was behind, and I knew I was in somewhere in the 10-second range behind. But even with this, I just wanted to get a record, so I pushed forward. And even though I once again lost 23 seconds in the stronghold, I knew I had a tiny bit of time to save in the final part of the game.
Jeps1 still had a small bit of time to save in the end, so he continued on, trying to get a great run.
I think that, in speedrunning, no matter what pace you're on, no matter how behind you are, the final stage of any game decides your final result. Obviously I was happy when I saw that time. Finally being on the top after several months of silence, is just crazy for me.
After 3 months of no gameplay, Jeps1 finally came back to set a crazy time. But this time, the run was about to change the course of the game's speedrun. Because this run stood, for an extremely long time. The run itself was solid, but still improvable. But the problem was, he just got a really good dragon boss. Because of that, it stood for the next 3 months, which is a significant time in the record history for Minecraft Platformer 5.
I never expected the fact that my run stood for 3 months, crazy that still it's to this date thought as a benchmark run.
Multiple different people tried their best to get the record, but to no avail. Even though the start, nether, and stronghold were all bad, There was just no way to get on a dragon boss just like Jeps 1's 334. Despite this, people still had high hopes. But suddenly in mid-May, someone new emerged. Their name was Man 3. Man 3 was one of the few runners to try and beat the time. He got on several good paces, but they were quick to be a loss. He got on several attempts, only for an immediate reset. But then, May 17, 2023 came. On that day, he'd get on a promising chance. Luckily enough, he was facing against the 334 splits, so he knew what time he was ahead or behind. He got off to a great start, he got less deaths, and as a result, saved 8 seconds. The Nether was fine, as he did have to play the Enderman safe, as he could have died, but he was still pretty quick.
I did also practice the Blaze fight a ton. I used to always play him, and I really got good at killing him easily. I was able to surpass Jeps 1's time very far, as I saved 16 seconds in the Nether, and I knew by that, it was going to be an incredible run, or a complete failure.
Man 3 had completed 2 really good splits. The last thing he had to do was complete 2 other splits, and get the record. This was going to become intense.
I knew that by this point, I had to get really focused on the game. I knew it was now or never to get the record.
The entrance started great, as he got pretty lucky platforming in the tree. Yet came the stronghold, the part where most of Jeps 1's time was bled. And guess what, Man 3 got a great stronghold. He improved his combat way more better, and gained an advantage against Jeps 1. And because of that, he saved nearly 22 seconds in the stronghold. This was becoming real.
I knew the only thing I had to do was pull it together. I was just really shaky, you know. So, I just tried my best. So I knew the dragon was getting out of reach, so I decided to climb the pillar and strike him. It was risky, as I could die from fall damage. I had accidentally got a sub 320, which was a wild thing to do.
He had not only beaten the record, he had accidentally set a time under 3 minutes and 20 seconds, which was just incredible.
I think the run started okay, the combat was fine I guess. I gained like 5 seconds there. 5 seconds is a pretty small time saved, like you've seen 10 to 30 second time saves. Yeah, the Nether did not go well, at all. You can obviously see it went horribly, and even the winning attempt was bad. I lost my entire lead and I was 3 seconds behind. There were 2 more splits, and gaining time in the stronghold and end is actually pretty tough. I luckily was able to shave off nearly 2 seconds, but I was still just a second behind. I just needed a good dragon boss.
Another incredible run from Man 3, 2 amazing runs were set, by just one new person. While the end was all great and all, there was still a massive margin for improvement in the preceding stages. The bosses were an example. The Enderman requires you to hit him until he hits the corner, then attack him quickly. Yet it still took Man 3 a long time to corner him. Despite this, he was happy with the record, and he stopped playing the game. But once again, one last person appeared. In May 25, 2023, Jeps 1 would come back, for a final time. To get there, he had to shave another 9 seconds off of his personal best, and former record, a 3:21. Jeps 1 also realized that time saves were going to be minimal. The days of big records were wearing away. Now, there were tiny time saves throughout the game now.
It took me the rest of the month to get somewhere. I was getting attempts that 100% weren't going through, but then I got this run. The run actually started great. I really improvised on my combat so that I could kill enemies without any major hits. Thanks to that, the start was deathless.
Because of his great start, he saved nearly 2 seconds, which was a great start. But then, he came to the Nether. With Man 3's boss fights obviously improvable, you could get the Enderman cornered quicker, and the Blaze fight could be deathless. So, Jeps 1 came to the Nether to improve Man 3's bosses. No pressure. Jeps 1 was now on a roll. He was nearly 20 seconds ahead, and although losing that time in the stronghold and end, he still made it for a remarkable 3:04.
My time was up and down of course, but still 8 seconds is a pretty good, and pretty reasonable record cut. I knew that by this point nobody would try beating my time, but I still continued on. I just wanted to continue running the game until I wanted to stop.
After the 3:05, he considered the time good, but he wanted to push forward. So in mid-June, he once again did attempts to try to beat the 3 minutes and 5 second time. He'd still take a lot of time out, but he wanted to continue until he thought the run was somewhere good. And finally, on June 19, 2023, on his 108th attempt, he'd get on a seemingly routine run. Obviously all runs don't start promising. He still at least got similar combat in the starting overworld. Just being slightly behind, which is perfectly fine. But in his 3:05, you remember the triple hit Blaze, that happens rarely. To get a triple hit kill on the Blaze, each hit had to make the Blaze low on the ground, and hit crits on each of the 3 hits.
Fun fact about the triple kill Blaze, I did that by accident, and I don't know if I ever will do it again. And yet, I didn't hit it in that run, so I lost a second, but I still had an okay boss. Another sticky situation I was in once again, behind and entering the stronghold. I needed to know where to save time. But then, I improvised one more risky strategy. I would not go for the beacons, and just focus on the dragon. This was a risky move, as actually doing this requires sacrificing. You're jumping on the pillars and jumping off of them for some hits on the dragon. But trying to beat the dragon normally would actually be a horrible idea. I would most likely get a tiny record out of it, or just lose the run.
Jeps 1 was fully aware this could go horribly wrong, but he decided to do it in a last-ditch effort to get a slightly larger record.
The only thing I could say to myself was, here goes nothing. Yep, it looked like this run was going to be it. The surprise on my face should have been seen. I thought it only could save a couple of seconds. In reality, I just got sub 3. The time save was decent, but the thing that made it the best part was that this would most likely be the final barrier broken in the game.
Jeps 1's efforts for the no beacon strategy paid off in a way that most people thought was impossible, and to this day, the 250 is the current record. Nearly 2 full minutes came off of the speedrun, a 5-minute run, then a 4-minute run, a 3-minute run, and finally, the seemingly impossible 2-minute run. Minecraft Platformer 5 has grown to be a popular speedrun. It used to be just people telling their times in the comment section of the game. Now, we have video evidence, and incredible runs to see at that. And the 251 will sure stand for a long, long time. This was the history of Minecraft Platformer 5 World Records. Thanks for watching.